I picked up Dao Kina's soul-catching bottle from under the stage. I released Tuong then and Hin Thien, who had been trapped inside. However, while in the bottle, they had endured the heavenly thunder and nearly lost the last trace of their soul. After this trip to northern Myanmar, all three of them were injured. I told you not to come, but you all insisted on coming anyway. If we hadn't come, could you have found Hanoi yet? Found the celestial snake staff? If we hadn't come, could you have broken the seal? My Noong had a new face, but the scars on her face couldn't be hidden. She looked a bit worn, yet she comforted me instead. We will all heal from our injuries over time. What matters most is you've broken the seal, and your life is about to change drastically. It's all right, at least I'm no longer afraid of demons. 20 years of living in constant fear was enough. Seeing my Noong continually glance at the scar on her face, I couldn't help but ask, does it hurt? It doesn't hurt, it's just ugly. I'd rather die from pain than look ugly. In a moment of mischief, I reached out my hand toward her, brushing over the long scar on her cheek. For a brief moment, warmth passed through my fingers, and the scar on my Noong's face healed like a miracle, her skin smooth once again. My Noong looked in the mirror, unable to believe it, and pinched her face again. Tam Tin Lone, you also know how to use divine light to create life? From what they said, I realized this spiritual power could only be possessed by the descendants of Nu Oe. In chaotic times, Nu Oe used divine light to gather people and heal the wounds of her followers. The descendants of Nu Oe also inherited this spiritual power and could use divine light to heal injuries. I suddenly remembered a time when I had a severe traffic accident, and the doctor said my leg needed to be amputated. My grandmother didn't say anything, just went through the discharge procedures. Everyone felt that I wasn't her biological grandchild, so she didn't want to spend money on my treatment. But later, my leg healed, and I could even run like the wind. When I returned to the hospital for a follow-up, the doctor said it was like a miracle. I vaguely remembered that my grandmother often touched my injured leg with her fingers, and I always felt a warmth moving through my leg. Then, my leg stopped hurting. It turned out I had also been healed by my grandmother's divine light. Suddenly, I felt a little nostalgic for her. I wanted to use the divine light to heal Tuong Then and Hin Thien, but before long, I was. As I healed them, the warmth at my fingertips suddenly became scorching. Then, a painful sensation enveloped my entire right hand. I knelt in agony, black veins spreading across my right palm, quickly creeping up my arm like roots. My Noong rushed over, crying out in panic, "Stop. Don't." That's why, all these years, the evil demons that sought my spiritual heart couldn't find me. The soul-sealing seal would only be broken when the host faced life-threatening danger. Now that the seal was lifted, what? As I realized this, I sensed chaos in the sky around us. My Noong and Hin Thien looked outside with serious expressions. Tuong then closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and then opened them filled with killing intent. They're coming. Who are they? A bunch of lunatics who want your life. My Noong quickly took off my coat and put hers on me. Hin Thien, you take off Tam Tin Lone's pants. You guys. Before I could say much, they pinned me down. Hin Thien tossed his flowery pants to me, which I really disliked. I'm not wearing yours. Hin Thien laughed angrily, if you don't wear it, then go naked. My Noong ignored me and instructed them, Tuong Then, you take Tam Tin Lone north, Hin Thien head east. I'll set fire to this area to erase Tam Tin Lone's scent. I'll go west, and then we'll regroup in the south. My Noong split us into 3 paths, each wearing my clothes. She wanted to use my scent to lure the demons away. My Noong released the people here and set the area ablaze. The flames immediately soared, but they couldn't extinguish the dark clouds that covered the sky. The thunder, rain, and wind roared. Ordinary people thought it was just a sudden weather change, cursing while gathering their drying clothes. The smell of death hung heavily in the air, and hundreds of demons silently crept into this city from all directions. I lay on Tuong Quan's back, watching Tuong Quan leap and fly over the rooftops so swiftly that there were no traces left. Suddenly, a powerful attack surged from the right. Tuong then was hit by that force and fell off the roof with me. I landed in a nearby field, and thankfully, Tuong then caught me as I fell. Otherwise, I would surely have become a cripple. Tuong then stood up, pulling me along. Tin Lone, are you all right? I'm fine. I looked up. In the forest ahead, a lightning bolt struck down, illuminating a massive creature with a human face and a spider's body. That was just the initial attack from this disgusting being. Tuong then shielded me behind him, his voice hoarse as he said, Tin Lone, go. Go where? You're still injured. A Noyette slithered out, holding onto my finger, revealing her true form beside me. A Noyette, let's deal with this monster together. A Noyette wrapped her enormous serpent body around me to pull me back, whispering, Princess, you can't use your spiritual power right now. The spider-human unexpectedly spat out spider silk, which formed a net aimed at us. Tuong then ripped through the gigantic net and charged at the spider-human. Just the small spiders terrified me, and now seeing the spider-human's swollen belly made my scalp tingle. But Tuong then was still injured, and his magical power hadn't recovered. It didn't take long for the spider-human to gain control over him. The spider-human spewed silk around his head, and Tuong then suddenly lost his target to attack. A Noyette quickly slithered forward, and before the spider-human could wrap Tuong then into a mummy, she bit into the spider. Oh, my poor girl, having to bite this disgusting creature. Taking advantage of a Noyette facing off with the spider-human, I tried to get over to untangle the spider's silk from Tuong Nan. But the silk was tougher than steel. I could hardly remove even a single strand on my own. I looked at my burning hand and gritted my teeth, activating my spiritual power. Flames appeared between my fingers and immediately burned the spider's silk on Tuong Nan. At that moment, I fell to the ground in pain, and the soul-refining bottle in my bag fell and made a crisp sound. I suddenly remembered I had this treasure and quickly shouted to a Noyette, come back. A Noyette turned back and instantly understood my plan upon seeing me. She quickly slithered towards me, but the spider-human thought she was trying to flee and laughed loudly. Want to run? It's not that easy. Just when a Noyette was a few meters away from me, the spider-human wrapped her in silk. She quickly shrank her body, turning into the heavenly serpent staff, which flew back into my hand. The spider-human, furious, lunged at me. The pale face of the spider-human was right in front of me, its elongated pupils resembling an actor's, with a wide-open mouth full of sharp teeth, which was terrifying. In an instant, I took out the soul-refining bottle and pointed the opening at the spider-human. The spider-human's expression changed immediately. It tried to turn and flee but was too late. Under the force of the wind, the spider-human was sucked into the soul-refining bottle. I closed the bottle's mouth, still unable to recover from the shock. This trip to northern Myanmar was indeed dangerous, but I had obtained a treasure. In this world, danger and opportunity always coexist. At that moment, I truly understood the principle: you can't catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den. Tuong then carried me, saying, Tin Lone, well done. I hugged his neck and smiled happily. Tuong then, you're my big brother, you always protect me from behind in times of danger. Tuong then nodded, and a smile appeared on his dry, cracked lips. I am Tin Lone's big brother. Tuong then carried me onward through the night rain. The rain was getting heavier. I looked at the bus moving through the rain and said, let's take the bus, you can rest for a bit. After all, traveling without any cover makes us a significant target. If some monster were to sneak attack us from behind, it would be genuinely perilous. Tuong then agreed with my suggestion, and when the bus stopped by the side of the road, we got on. As the bus doors closed, I intended to drop some coins into the fare box but suddenly saw that the box was filled with paper money from the underworld through the glass panel. I gasped in fright, looking up to see that the bus was almost full of people. To be more precise, it was full of dead people. Could this be the legendary ghost bus of Myanmar? I was so familiar with it. The legend says that those who see this bus are people with a very strong aura of death, meaning they are on the brink of death. As soon as you get on this bus, you'll be cursed by the deceased passengers. The dead on the bus stared at me with their hollow eyes, their faces expressionless but their gazes icy. I awkwardly greeted, "Good evening, everyone, hee." They didn't respond but stood up one by one, moving towards us. "Tin Lone, don't be scared." At that moment, Tuong then moved forward from behind to shield me again. The group of ghosts, which was originally filled with murderous intent, were startled upon seeing Tuong then and hesitated to retreat to their seats. I almost forgot that Tuong then was the king of the undead, still capable of intimidating these ordinary ghosts. The ghosts hurriedly backed into the corners, making way for Tuong then. He let me sit next to him. I leaned against my big brother's shoulder, gazing at the rain outside the window, feeling a bit drowsy. I wondered how my Nuong and Hin Thien were doing. The bus was heading to the place we had arranged to meet. I hoped to see them safe and sound soon. I didn't know how long I had been asleep when the bus suddenly braked hard, jolting me awake. The door opened, and a young, thin man wearing a baseball cap stepped onto the bus. Thinking about how this bus would bring misfortune to others, I blocked the young man at the door. "Get off the bus, you shouldn't get on this one." The young man looked up at me, smiling slightly. "Why not? This is public transport. Listen to me, if you don't, you'll die." "Oh. Is that so?" "Tam Tin Lone, who dies is still uncertain." The young man in the baseball cap laughed, and the flesh on his face began to rot. I stood there in shock, the familiar scent of death flooding my nostrils, and I instinctively took a few steps back. "How con? Smart, I'm wearing the skin of a puppet, and you still recognized me." I knew I would encounter him again, but I didn't expect him to find me this quickly. "Tam Tin Lone, oh Tam Tin Lone, that boyfriend of yours has really harmed me badly." After Hao Khan got on the bus, he lit a cigarette right next to the door. In the last moments before he died, he used his power to shatter my soul. What a lovesick fool he is. I clenched my fists tightly, while Anoyet licked my fingers, comforting me not to act rashly. "I'll make you pay for his life." Hao Khan found this amusing, tilting his head back and laughing loudly. "Just you? Oh right, you have unsealed the seal. All the demons and monsters can smell the fragrance of your spirit now." Hao Khan stepped closer to me, grinning sinisterly. "Instead of letting the other demons feast on you, why not let me have you? I promise I'll treat you delicately and won't hurt you at all." Tuong then, his voice hoarse, said, "Hao Khan, aim for me." "Tuong then, you've known me for a long time. Look at you, you weren't stuttering like this before. Why haven't you recovered your power and turned into a stammering fool again?" Damn it, he mocked my big brother, he wouldn't get away with it. I pointed the soul-collecting jar at Hao Khan, and a strong wind suddenly swirled in the cabin. Hao Khan was slightly taken aback but was not affected, laughing. Fortunately, I secretly took a sealing pill from Tai Thuong Lao Quan, or else I would have been sucked in by your worthless jar. Seeing the soul-collecting jar was useless against him, I started to feel anxious. Tuong then was still injured, and every time I used my spiritual power, it backfired on me, causing me pain that felt worse than death. Looking at Hao Khan's current state, he had likely recovered from his injuries and was unavoidably arrogant. Right now, we were almost powerless to confront him. Hao Kan finished his cigarette and stretched, saying, "All right, reminiscing about the past is over, let's discuss business." As he spoke, he extended his sharp claws toward me, and Tuong then stepped in front of me, tearing his hand away. Hao Kan roared, and the severed hand fell to the ground, turning to ash, but he grew a new arm. However, his body began to decay with his roar. Hao Kan disdainfully peeled off the puppet's skin, revealing his withered zombie body. He was still cursing, "Your boyfriend's physique is much better, these mortal bodies become useless in just a few days. It's a pity your boyfriend is too foolish and didn't listen to me, otherwise, perhaps he and I would have merged into one by now." I could no longer endure it, thinking of the lingering attachment and regret in Tadyung's eyes before he died. I felt sorrowful and drew the heavenly snake staff. Get lost. Pay for Tadyung's life. The head of the heavenly snake staff suddenly erupted with a powerful surge of spiritual energy, striking straight at Hao Kan's chest. The force shattered the bus's windshield, sending him crashing to the ground several meters away. He left long green marks on the ground. Hao Kan staggered and knelt on the ground, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. Interesting. Ignoring Tuong Than's attempts to stop me, I jumped out through the shattered windshield. I charged toward Hao Kan with the heavenly snake staff, splashing water everywhere. "Tadyung, I won't let you die in vain." I swung the heavenly snake staff and struck hard at Hao Kan's head. His head immediately rolled down to my feet, but he was still wildly thrashing. Hao Kan opened his mouth, full of blood, shouting, "No. This is my last fragment, you can't take it, you can't." I bent down to lift his head, filled with hatred. "When you killed Tadyung, you should have thought about this day." He shook his head in madness. "Tam Tin Lone, you will be backlashed. If you use your spiritual power again, you will die. Sparing me is equivalent to sparing yourself. Can we discuss this easily? I won't die, and I won't spare you." I gently caressed the heavenly snake staff, and Anoyet revealed her true form. I tossed Hao Kan's head up, and Anoyet lifted her head, biting it into pieces. I heard the sound of bones breaking and the resentment that Hao Kan couldn't express in time. I was holding the necklace left by Tadyung, feeling a bit distracted. "Tadyung, I have avenged you, don't wander in the underworld anymore, just rest in peace." In that moment, my whole body felt like it was being burned by fire. Just now, I couldn't help but use my spiritual power, but in the end, I was still backlashed. I gritted my teeth, kneeling on the damp ground, begging Anoyet to free me. "Princess." Anoyet's brown eyes were filled with tears. She wrapped around me with her cool body, trying to cool me down. Just before I passed out, I saw my Nuong and her group rushing towards me. They were all still here, that's good. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed in my home country. My Nuong said that Tuong Than had carried me back for an entire day. Tuong Than said the medical standards in the country are higher and insisted on carrying you back. Hin Thien also nodded, saying, "He crossed a mountain over 1,000 meters high in just 20 minutes, choosing the nearest path and climbing the most dangerous mountain." Although Tuong Than doesn't like to talk much, he is really caring. I happily said, "Tuong Than is my big brother, how could he not care for me?" Tuong Than handed me a peeled apple. "Tin Lone, eat." Hin Thien, feeling left out, said, "What about me? You're also my big brother, why don't I get one?" Tuong Than smirked, "If you want to eat, peel it yourself." My Nuong shot them a glare and turned to look at me. "How are you feeling now? Is there any discomfort?" "I still feel weak all over, but the burning sensation isn't as strong anymore. The doctor has prescribed burn ointment for you, you'll need to apply it a few more times later." The doctor pushed the door open and was a bit surprised to see the apple in my hand. "Did you peel the apple yourself? It seems you're doing fine, you can be discharged now." I looked at the 3 ghosts beside me and nodded, yes. Hin Thien took a bite of the apple one hadn't finished. I wonder what their reaction would be if they saw us. My Noong scoffed, you? It's better to avoid that. Tuong Then and Hin Thien looked too terrifying. It wouldn't be appropriate for them to show themselves, or they would scare others to death. As for my Noong, she's already beautiful, and if she manifested, she would definitely attract a lot of attention. That would be too ostentatious. Therefore, they usually don't show themselves and follow me in ghost form. My Noong made them a set of skin, but they felt uncomfortable wearing it. They'd rather not appear than wear it. My Noong looked at the sky outside the hospital window, saying seriously, we need to speed up our progress to Kon Lon, otherwise, we might lose our lives on the way before we even reach the mountain. With my current state, it would take me half a year to get to Kon Lon. My Noong shook her head. Half a year is too long. We really can't take a plane? Didn't you say that walking would be a sincere help to your cultivation? That was before. Now that your seal has been lifted, anyone who smells the fragrance of your spiritual heart will come. The plan has changed. We need to adapt to the circumstances. All right, it's too dangerous outside now. You need to hurry to Kon Lon and learn how to use your spiritual power, or you'll keep facing backlash. Flying to Kon Lon, even if the celestial beings are dissatisfied, they will still protect you well. Hearing them say that, I wholeheartedly agreed. After all, I wanted to fly from the beginning. Not long after being discharged, I bought a plane ticket to Xinjiang. Because the three of them were still injured, to treat them better, I decided to use my grandmother's method and kept them in potted plants. So when I carried 3 potted plants to the airport staff looked quite confused. If you want to carry it on, the limit is 1 potted plant, weighing no more than 5 kilograms, and the dimensions cannot exceed 20 by 40 by 55 centimeters. These 3 potted plants cannot be taken on. Not allowed? These 3 potted plants are my family, I have to bring them all. The staff couldn't help but laugh and said, if you want to check the plants, there's no limit on the number. Just keep in mind the weight limit is 32 kilograms, with a free weight allowance of no more than 20 kilograms. If you exceed that, there will be a fee. All right, then I'll take 1 pot on the plane and check the other 2. I took the 3 potted plants to the lounge and discussed with them, let my Noong come on the plane with me, I'll check the other 2. Tuong then immediately agreed, okay. Hin Thien chimed in, I'm still a kid, forget it. Good men shouldn't compete with women. I laughed and patted his face, so good. Several passengers passing by saw me talking to the potted plants and expressed sympathy. They whispered to each other, she looks nice, but her spirit seems a bit off.
Yeah.
It's a pity, I was going to ask for her WeChat earlier, but who knew she'd be sick? My Noong glared at them, what's this? He just got sick, wait until he goes to the bathroom, and I'll scare him into wetting himself. Forget it, just sleep for a bit. I took my Noong's box onto the plane. Looking at the luggage rack, I was thinking about how to place the box up there. A boy wearing a sports shirt sitting in the aisle stood up, do you want to store your luggage? I'll help you. I looked into his clear eyes and handed him the box, thank you. It's nothing. After he stored the box, he sat down next to me. Are you going to Tan Quang too? I was a bit flustered by his small talk but nodded. Yes. Going on a trip? Huh? Yes. I'm traveling too, how about we share a ride? He smiled, his clear smile making one want to get closer. But I still declined. No need, I'm with family. After all, I wasn't really going on a trip, I was afraid that the things I was about to experience would scare him. I turned to look at the scenery outside the window, where the bright horizon was starting to be covered by dark clouds. It seemed that my presence always brought disasters to somewhere. Was the spiritual heart inside me really that good? I was only 20 years old. Was it too heavy a responsibility for me to maintain and protect the peace of sentient beings? And this time going to Conlon, I didn't know what terrifying things I would encounter. I felt a bit tired, turned to the side, and fell asleep. The end.